This is the tale of two shooting brakes, one German and one Italian. One of them originally sold for a little over $30,000, and the other one originally sold for a little over $300,000. And somehow, today, you can find them listed for the same price. So without further ado, let's talk about why. This is the duality of the clown shoe. First off, if you're anything like me, you're probably looking at that and trying to figure out what even is that thing. They don't look like coupes, they're definitely not sedans, and they don't really look like wagons. So after a quick Google, you can find out there's something called a shooting brake. And again, if you're like me and you're too poor to know what that is, don't worry, I already Googled that for you also. So before we go any further, let's talk about the term shooting brake. It sounds like something a Victorian gentleman would yell right before blasting pheasants out of the sky with a blunderbuss. And honestly, that's not far off. A shooting brake originally referred to a horse-drawn wagon used to haul aristocrats, their rifles, and their freshly ventilated wildlife across the countryside. Fast forward to the 20th century, and car makers have hijacked the term for wagons with two doors, long hoods, sloped roofs, and actual trunk space. Think of it just like any other normal coupe, but with a backpack. And not just any backpack either. I'm talking about that stone cold Steve Austin backpack that you always wanted when you were a kid. That's right, you know what backpack I'm talking about. So anyway, it's not quite a wagon and it's not quite a sports car. So let's get started with the first car in this tragicomic footwear saga. The BMW Z3 Coupe. It's weird, it's short, and it's absolutely dummy thick. And it might just be one of the most misunderstood sports cars that BMW ever made. This is the OG clown shoe. And yeah, it earned its nickname, but it also earned respect. So let's set the scene. It's the late 90s, a time of Star Wars Episode 1 being the most popular movie in theaters. You couldn't turn on the radio without hearing Believe by Cher, and of course, certain impending doom. BMW was riding on a high streak of hits. The E36 3 Series, the 850 CSI, and the original M3s were all huge successes. And today, they still remain to be cult favorites. But they wanted a cheap, fun, lightweight roadster to compete with the Miata. Enter the Z3 Roadster. Made famous by James Bond and GoldenEye, the Z3 was BMW's first modern mass-market sports car. It was built in the USA, Spartanburg, South Carolina to be specific, also known for its rich Civil War history. Shout out Google AI for thinking that that was a fun tidbit to share with me. The BMW Z3 sold like bratwurst at Oktoberfest. But here's the twist. The engineers weren't satisfied. The Roadster's chassis was soft. It flexed.
So much torque, the chassis twisted coming off the line.
And when they added more power, it got squirrely. So what did they do? They put a roof on it. No joke, the BMW Z3 was born because the engineers were annoyed. And in a rare moment of executive clarity, BMW let them cook. The Z3 Coupe wasn't supposed to exist. The design team hated it. The proportions were a nightmare, long hood, stubby tail, and a weird roofline. But it was all in the name of function. That stupid looking roof stiffened the chassis by over 2.5 times compared to the Roadster version of the car. The short rear kept that weight distribution nice and tight. And as for the hatch, it turns this thing into a sports car with actual cargo space. In fact, more space than what comes in a Lamborghini Urus. It was never meant to look good. It was meant to drive brilliantly. And that's exactly what it did. The Z3 came in just a few flavors. And by just a few flavors, I mean all of them. They went full fat kid at a Golden Corral on these things. If there was a motor or transmission package that BMW offered at the time, it was probably offered in the Z3. Engines including, but not limited to, a 1.8 liter, a 1.9 liter, a 1.9 liter again, but slightly different for some reason, a 2 liter, a 2.5, a 2.8, and a 3.0 for only the non-M versions. The M versions came with the 3.2 liter S50, S52, and S54 engines. That's a lot. As for the transmissions, they either came with a 5-speed manual, a 5-speed auto, or a 4-speed auto across 3 different manufacturers being ZF, Getrag, and GM. For the coupes, transmissions came only the way God intended, that being manual. The engine packages were limited to those that were inline 6. And the differential was clutch type limited slip. Real deal, certified Hoonage hardware. With a short wheelbase, stiffened chassis, and a rear-wheel drive layout, it earned nicknames like the M3's Evil Twin, the German Hatch, and of course, my favorite, the Clown Shoe. And when journalists started tracking them, they found out these funny looking shoes could dance. The Z3 Coupe was faster than BMW's M3 at the same time. That's right, not only was it weird, but it was faster than BMW's poster boy. But the Z3 Coupe didn't sell well. Total production was only 17,800 units, and there was only 6,300 M units ever made. Of those, only 678 of them ever made it to the States, making them extremely rare to see here. At the time, people didn't really get it. They were too weird, too expensive, and too impractical looking. But now they're cult icons. Z3 Coupes have more than doubled over the last 10 years, and in multiple instances, sold for more than 6 figures. As you can see here, beautifully illustrated by my high-tech, top-secret car data analyzing software, which I only have access to, because it's top secret, and I made it. With no help. The year is 2011. Still riding off the high of the 458 Italia, the F12 is still cooking in the oven. Ferrari decides it's time to shake things up. The plan is to build a practical car, one that can carry 4 adults and climb a mountain pass in the snow. And also go 200 miles an hour. Hence the name FF, short for Ferrari 4, with 4 seats and 4 driven wheels. The vibe? High-dollar snowmobile for people whose other car is a helicopter. The FF's design was born in collaboration with the designers at
Pininfarina.
And it shows. And for my fellow Americans who do not know what Pininfarina is, it is not a pasta. Please do not go try to order it at Olive Garden. Pininfarina is one of the greatest design houses of all time. Founded in 1930 by Battista Pininfarina, the company started out building custom bodies for luxury cars. Back when auto manufacturers were like, here's the chassis, figure out the rest on your own. But by the 50s, Pininfarina had become the name in design for the rich, fast, and fabulous. Their resume reads like the Supercar Hall of Fame. The Ferrari 250 GT, the Ferrari Daytona, the Ferrari Enzo, the Alfa Romeo Spider, the Maserati Gran Turismo, even the freaking Testarossa. And they didn't stop with Ferraris. They worked with Puget, GM, Bentley, Honda, even Hyundai at one point. But here's the kicker. Even with their pedigree, they weren't afraid to get weird. You remember the Ferrari Modulo? That was Pininfarina. So when Ferrari asked them to design a V12 hatchback that had all-wheel drive, they said, why the hell not? That's the Pininfarina magic. They don't just design, they sculpt emotion, even if that emotion is confused and aroused. Back to the FF, it's long, it's bulbous, and yet it's still functional. Why the long nose? Because there's a 6.3 liter, naturally aspirated, big boy Ferrari V12 stuffed up in that schnoz. And why the weird hatchback slope? Because Ferrari wanted room for 450 liters of cargo, meaning that you could fit a bicycle in the back of the FF. Let's talk about that engine, because holy mother of Enzo. This thing packs Ferrari's F140 EB V12. 6.3 liters of naturally aspirated fury, 651 horsepower, 504 foot-pounds of torque, and a screaming red line of 8,000 RPM. Because taking your kids to school should sound like an F1 qualifying lap.
Obviously, don't go and do that.
Now, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't. Live!
And now here's where things get wild. Ferrari didn't want to ruin their rear-wheel drive handling, so they cooked up one of the strangest all-wheel drive systems ever put in a vehicle. And here's how it works. The rear wheels are powered by a 7-speed dual-clutch transaxle. But the front wheels, they're powered by a 2-speed transmission mounted to the front side of the motor. This system is called the 4RM. It's 50% lighter than a traditional all-wheel drive system, and it only activates when it's needed, meaning that under most conditions, you're getting pure rear-wheel drive Ferrari dynamics. But if things get slippery, the front axle gets power quicker than that regret hits after you send the text to your ex that you swore you were over. Taking a look inside, it's not just luxury, it's also a tech flex. And I mean, just to give you an idea, this thing came with an optional speedometer on the passenger side. So your passenger can watch you commit felonies in real time. It also came with magnet orthological dampers that could adjust stiffness on the fly depending on road condition. The FF was only made for 5 years, from 2011 to 2016, replaced by the GT-C4 Lusso, which was more or less the same idea with a little bit slicker of a design and a better infotainment system. But here's the kicker. Because of that all-ball status, the FF depreciated hard. Today, you can snag one of these for under $100,000, which is hilarious considering these things originally sold for over $300,000. And this is where the story gets really interesting, because do you know what that means? All right, I'm gonna play out a scenario here for a second. I'm sitting here scrolling through Marketplace and I stumble upon this thing. I swipe through, looks pretty clean. I'm undoubtedly the target demographic that Ferrari was thinking of when they made it. All right, I'm interested. How much is it? Oh, it's $103,000. Well, I don't have $103,000. So what am I to do? Well, it doesn't say no trades, so you know what that means. That's right, I'm gonna offer him my 1996 Kawasaki KX250. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, that wouldn't be a fair trade. I'm gonna offer him my 1986 Kawasaki KX250 and my BMW Z3 Coupe. And now from a dollar value standpoint, that is a perfectly fair trade. I mean, that's absolutely insane. If you would have told me when I went down this rabbit hole that that was going to be a fair trade, I would have called you crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They left me in a room. A rubber room. A rubber room full of clown shoes. The clown shoes made me crazy. So what do these two have in common besides their silhouettes being sponsored by Crocs? Both look kind of ridiculous, were ridiculed at launch, and are now cult icons. So let's get to the nitty gritty and put them head to head. In the power department, the Z3 Coupe makes anywhere between 200 and 300 horsepower depending on what engine package you got. The Ferrari makes 651 horsepower. As for the drivetrain layout, the Z3 came with rear-wheel drive only while the FF came with all-wheel drive. The original price of the Z3 was around $30,000 while the FF's original price was right around $300,000. Now you can find them both right around $100,000. And as far as practicality goes, they're both pretty good considering what they are. One of them is a lightweight hooligan and the other one is a luxury precision airstrike. But both prove that form can follow function, even if that function is to confuse everybody else on the road. So what's the takeaway from this clown shoe showdown? Don't underestimate the weird one, because sometimes the best cars aren't the prettiest. Sometimes the best cars are just the ones bold enough to wear the funny shoes, or look like them in this case. So what do you think? If you had $100,000 burning a hole in your pocket, which one would you take and why? As always, if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all the things that make the YouTube algorithm happy. Again, still taking suggestions if you want to leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see y'all nerds on the next one. Have a good one.